Welcome to Mrs. Hardison's video on scatter plots, trend lines, and residuals. We want to start by entering our data, and you do this by hitting the Stat button. Stat is short for statistics. So if you click on the Stat button, you'll have three menus. One, and then enter, and it'll give you your lists. You can store a number of lists in here. Now you're going to ask, Mrs. Hardison, where did you get the data from? I used the data that we gathered at the beginning of the year from all my classes relating foot length to height. And I picked 2 or 3 at random from each class. So in the first list, I'm going to enter the shoe sizes that you guys entered. Of course, remember, we're entering them as ordered pairs. So for the person that has a shoe size of 9 inches, their height I'm going to enter here, but it's easier to enter one list at a time. I'm going to fast forward through my entering these numbers. What I want you to do is to pause the video and enter the same numbers into your calculator at the same time so that you can get a feel for how to go through this process. You want to hit 8 and enter. If you don't hit enter, it won't log it in. So you have to remember to hit enter between data entries. 8.75, and I'll do the rest in fast forward. If you make a mistake, you can always go back and hit delete. That should be 10 data sets.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
To enter list 2, I'm just going to hit the right cursor key. I will enter that student's height so that they're matched up as ordered pairs. So this person was 60 inches tall, and I'm just going to hit enter. Oh, I made a mistake, and instead of hitting enter, I hit plus. It won't delete unless you're on top of it. So I'm going to hit delete and clear all these out and then hit enter. So now all my data is entered and you want to graph it. The way you do that is by hitting stat plot, and that's second function y equals. And stat plot means you want to graph your statistics. Under stat plot, it shows you that all of the plots are off. So we want to enter plot 1 in blue. We want to turn it on by hitting enter, and it'll go in and give you a menu. So we want to turn it on, and all you have to do is hit enter. You go down and it says, how do you want it graphed? It can connect the dots, it can make bar graph. These are key graphs, these are stepwise graphs, and so we just want a scatter plot. I'm just going to leave it. And X list, you want it to use your list 1 values for X's and your list 2 values for Y's, and that's default, so I'm going to go ahead and leave those. How do you want your spot to look? I'm just going to leave it little blue squares. You can go to graph. Remember that our points don't necessarily fall in our standard window. There is actually a really great way of getting your statistics. Just go to zoom, and if you come down to number 9, it'll zoom in on just the statistics that you entered. The window will set automatically to cover all your data set. It will give you all your data sets in little blue squares. And when we were in 6th grade and you had to fit a line to the points, you were asked to just do this to the best of your ability. We can actually get the calculator to determine the line of best fit for us. We do that by clicking on the stat button again. And this time, instead of entering numbers in, we can go to calculate, and you can use all of these tools to do different calculations on the statistics that you've entered. In this case, we want to go down to number 4, which is a linear regression, and it will determine the line of best fit for us. Under linear regression, you can see you want your list 1 to be your X's and your list 2 to be your Y's. You can leave those. And under store regression, equation, you can hit vars here. If you click vars and go to y vars, you can save your equation under function, which is number 1. I'm just going to hit enter. and you can choose any of these places. It will actually enter it into that window you have where it says y1 equals, y2 equals. In this case, it should all be cleared out, but go ahead and hit enter, and it will show you here that where you're saving the equation to. And you can scroll down to calculate, and it will do those calculations for you and show you the equation. And then I can show you how it'll graph it as well. So if you hit enter, it says your linear regression gives you the equation y equals ax plus b. You know a in this case stands for m. And your slope is 2.998. And your y-intercept is right around 35. So all you have to do at this point is say graph, because you've already entered it in under your y. So you can click y equals and see that it entered that same equation that you just saw. This is your slope x plus b. And if you just hit graph, it'll show you your data points as well as your line of best fit. So now what we want to do is see how good your fit is by calculating your residuals. Residuals are just the distance from your data point to your line of best fit. The smaller your residuals are, the better your fit is. So this point here looks like it fits the data the best. A point like this, if you remember, your x-axis is your shoe size. So he has a relatively small shoe size, but is very tall. So this is the greatest positive residual, whereas this point here would be considered your greatest negative residual, meaning that their shoe size is very large but not terribly tall. The calculator will calculate our residuals for us, which is phenomenal. If you go back to the Stat button and go to Edit again, as we did before, this time instead of L1 or L2, we want to scroll all the way over. Actually, I want to be on top. Whoops. There. We want to go to the last category that doesn't have a number, and what we want to put in here is residuals. So we're going to hit second function alpha and type in. So when you type in resid up here, the calculator automatically calculates your residuals, and you can see for the ones that fall below the line, it's a negative residual. For the ones that are above the line, you get a positive residual, and the ones that are really far away have larger residuals. So what you want to do at this point is to plot your residuals. You will see if your line is a good fit or not. Go to second function stat plot. Your first plot is on. We want to go ahead and turn that off and hitting enter. Then we want to go up to plot 2. If we turn plot 1 off but don't change anything, we can save it in there for later. So when we hit enter on plot 2, we are able to turn this one on. We're going to leave it a scatter plot. And in list 1 is going to stay the same. We still want to do our foot length. But list 2, you want to enter your residual list for the Y. There are 3 ways to change your lists. You can either type them in, or you can use these shortcut buttons. So you can hit second function, L2, if we wanted to graph the original graph over again, but we don't. So I'm going to go back and delete that one. And I want to enter residuals, and the easiest way to do that is to access your list hot button by hitting second function stat, and that gives you your lists. Under the names of our lists, residual is under 8, so all we have to do is enter 8, and it'll type in residual for us. It'll put our marks in squares, and I've changed the color to red. If we hit graph, right now our Y is still on. At this point, I like to go to Y equals and turn off your Y1 linear equation. All you have to do is click on the equal sign, and the equation will stay there, but it will no longer graph. See how the equal sign is not darkened anymore. And you can also see that plot 1 is off, but plot 2 is on. At this point, you can hit graph. Our window is no longer the correct fit. So remember, if we want to zoom in on our statistics that we're interested in, you can come down to 9, which is zoom stat, and hit enter. It shows you, this is a graph of our foot size and then the difference from our fit. Your points are very scattered. They're fairly equally spaced above and below, and there's no discernible pattern. If you got a discernible pattern, for example, a U shape to your points, you would know that a linear regression is not the right fit for this data. A scatter plot of your residuals that looks very random and is above and below equally means that you have a really great fit to your data. When you do your homework, you're welcome to store all this stuff in here. If you ever need to go back, all you have to do is turn on your line and then go up and turn on your plot 1 and turn off plot 2. See that you need to change our window again to 9 zoom stat, and you will see our data with our line of best fit, which we did by linear regression. Thank you so much. I hope that you have worked along on your calculator, and I will see you in class.